Okay, we have been talking about servant leaders, powerful, successful leaders in the 21st century. And now my question is, will you qualify? Do you find yourself qualified for the job of leadership? Now, aside from the things that we have already discussed, let us try to take a look at the difference between the 21st, the 20th, and the 21st centuries kind of leaders. Anong klase pong leader meron po 20th and anong 21st century? By the way, we are now on the 21st century. Yung bago po, alam nyo, century, I think it's 100, diba? Ang millennium is 1,000. And so, every 100 years, may nangyayari po sa ating paligid. So, the 21st century, the leaders, they focus on themselves. And their leadership is about how good it will make them look. Alam mo, kung ba sa papogihan, kaya lang gawin ko ito, you know, I need to lead properly so people would see me as a good leader. But in the 21st century, leaders focus on the people that they are serving and ask, how can the people I am leading succeed and grow? So, here, hindi na po ito papogihan. Sa 20th, di ba, usahan natin yan, pogi points mo na naman yan. Papogi ka lang. No, this time, hindi. It is not for the people. And that is exactly the kind of century we have. Leaders must learn to do something to make the people look good, not yourself. Okay? How will they grow? And so how has leadership changed from the 20th to the 21st century? A 20th century leadership was about leading from the front, being the authority figure, and making all the decisions. So, yan po. Naranasan ko yan because 20th century po, nagli-lead na po ako. Yan po yun. Lagi kami ang nasa harapan. Kami yung lagi nagda-direct. So, followers are always at the background. So, ano nangyari? Napagod lang kami. Because, mali. Pero, pero it's not really wrong. Because that is the culture of the 20th century. But the 21st century is about leading by example. Kahit na kapatid, wala ka dyan, kung alam nila ang example mo, alam nila ang buhay mo, kapatid, they will follow, they will be inspired. And 21st century leadership, lead by example, inspire others to be servant leaders. So, inspirational din ang leaders of the 21st century. And they are more collaborative, adaptive, and open-minded. Noong mga panahon kasi, pag kinausap mga leader, sasabihin lang siya, okay na yan. Ako naman ang leader dito eh. I remember several years ago, merong lumapit sa aking mga council members. And then their question, sabi nila, Pastor, pwede bang palitan nyo na yung inassign mo sa amin na pastor? Sabi ko, why? Kasi pastor, every time kami mag-meet, or every time siya mag-praise, he would always remind us, remember, I am your pastor. Having heard that, pinatawag ko yung pastor. Sabi ko, why do you have to tell them that you are the pastor? Then they know that you are. Di ba nila alam na ikaw ang pastor? Why do you have to remind them? Kasi alam nila dapat pastor, ang sagot sa akin. Now, listen to this. If you keep on reminding the people that you are the leader or the pastor, then you yourself doubts you're being a leader or a pastor. You don't have to remind them. They know. Alam nila dapat nakikita sa iyo ang leadership. Now, the test of powerful leadership is this. When the leader is absent or the leader is not with a group, and the group continues to move, and that is a sign of good leadership. Ang iba kasi, pagka wala na yung leader, wala yung leader natin, paano na tayo? Dati talalakad. Pero yung successful leadership, wala yung leader natin. Siguro nagkasakit o baka may importanteng ginagawa. Sige, gawin na natin na dapat natin gawin. And the organization continues even when the absence of the leader. Kasi yung po ang gauge ng isang successful leadership. In the absence of the leader, the organization works well. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin. All right? Because they lead by example. And so what makes the 21st century leaders different from the past? How did it change? Paano ba nagbago? Marami po kasi talaga pinagbago. Perhaps you are not aware of it. Pero remember, during my time, when I was younger, ang telepono namin, yung galing pa sa gere, yung iniikot mo, krek, and then yung gamit sa mga hapon sa moshe. But I had a dream several years ago, napanaginipan ko na one day, makikita ko na ang kausap ko sa telephone. I didn't know that one day there will be all this of a smartphone that we have, that you can now talk and see the person you're talking to. Would you believe, in the 50s, mayroong Pilipino na naka-imbento ng video conferencing. He was the first in the world. Pilipino pala naka-imbento niya. So, yung root, yung pinanggalingan, yung foundation of the video conferencing was created by a Filipino. Wow, what a great leader tayo. So, 20th century leadership was about leading the front. Ngayon, di na. We are now leading by example. And so, what kind of a leader do we have and we are supposed to have in the 21st century? We need to be able to continuously innovate. Balik po tayo doon sa, we must be entrepreneurs. When I was taking marketing sa University of the East, I am a graduate of a Bachelor of Science in Marketing Management. One thing that I enjoyed much was product planning and development. And we were told na you don't have to invent new product. All you have to do is look for an existing product which are not really saleable, known, and improve it, innovate, strategize, and do something good out of it. And I was able to, my product was to make fountain pen with ink eradicator, meaning fountain pen liquid na may eraser. Oh, that was almost impossible, unthinkable during those times. That was in 1970. But I made that, and then I did realize that one day, magkakaroon na po ng eraser ang mga fountain pen. But honestly, that was my thesis. And I had a drawing of it, and I would have an example. Fountain pen ink with ink eradicator, may eraser. And so, innovate. Like for example, napapansin ba natin yung mga toothbrush ngayon? Dati, napakasimple lang. Ngayon, kung ano na, may panlinis na sige lang, yung galagid and so on. Marami ng improvement, nag-innovate na. And so, we must also be able to manage disruption effectively. In other words, may mga disruption sa ating mga leadership, we must be able to manage it. And so, therefore, this is the kind of leader of the 21st century. I have here a note from which I took from a book by Professor M.S. Rao, PhD. Now, I just would like to read some, and I would not be discussing this because I have a very long narrative here. And I would be reading just some of those things. So, James Strzok, from the book of Professor M.S. Rao, a PhD. Today, the only effective leadership is serving others. It is no longer optional. It is the essence of 21st century leadership by James Strzok. And so, mga kapatid, effective leadership is all about serving others. Na ito naman tinuro sa atin ng Panginoon. If you want to lead, serve. If you want to be the greatest, then serve. And in his book, award-winning book, James Strzok, entitled Serve to Lead, the 21st Century Leaders Manual, differentiate between the 20th century and the 21st century leaders with inspiring examples. He enlightened that in the 21st century leadership is replaced by service, transaction by relationship, inside out by outside in. And so, kung gusto mong mag-lead sa labas, kailangan yung nasa loob ang ilabas mo. And then, you must be able to establish relationship. Hindi po yung utos na dito, gawin nyo na. No, no. Transaction by leadership, that is. Alright? And then, and another statement by the same man, the essence of courage is serving others with unconditional love. Oh, this is where I will close. If you want to be effective leader, then lead with an unconditional love. Do not look on what benefits you. Hindi na po ganon eh. Ang ilan kasi gusto mag-lead, ano ba pakinabang ko dyan? Will I improve there or what? But of course, you have to improve. Benefit, of course, you will benefit. But that should not be your motivation for leading. It is not to us, but to Him alone be the glory. And so, effective leadership are servant leaders. And servant leaders in the 21st century, they lead by example. Not necessarily that they are always in front, but they are always looked up as an example. And I would like to read just a passage. And I would like you to study this carefully and make a devotional on this. And this is one of my favorite passages in the book of John. And here, Jesus, the leader, showing them what to do. And I will be reading 17 verses. Is it okay with you? Now, this is from the NIV. John 13, verse 1. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew, now remember, Jesus knew that the time had come for Him to leave this earth, this world, and go to the Father. Having loved His own who were in the world, He now showed them in the full extent of His love. Now, facing the most important event, the Lord Jesus Christ saw that there is something more important, and that is doing the will of the Father. And then, Jesus knew the time had come. Patapos na ang kanyang ministry sa lupa. You see, sometimes, we squander most of our times. Sinasayang natin ang oras. Marami tayong ginagawa na hindi naman dapat gawin. We are wasting precious moments and times in our lives. But here, Jesus Christ, knowing what is important, He stood up and He showed them the full extent of His love. Another thing, ang sabi, for Him to lead the world and go to the Father. Effective leadership understand and He knows who His master is. Jesus said in John 4:34, He said, my food is to do the will of the Father who sent me and to accomplish it. Even when He was at the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus said, Father, if it is necessary, take this cup out from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. Know your master and be able to lead. And then, and that is the only time that you can share your love. And verse 2, the evening meal was being served, and the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under His power. Know your power, know your authority. Your authority power is a delegated authority coming from the Master, our God. So don't you remember that? So when you lead at the church, whatever capacity, remember, you have been given by God authority and power. And that had come from God. You see? Know who sent you. It is not me, Pastor Joseph, ang nagtumatawag sa inyo. Ang Diyos, remember that. And returning to God. O, alam niya kung saan siya uuwi. So he got up from the meal and took off his outer clothing and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. Hindi lang hinugasan yung paa ng kanyang alin yung mga panahon. Wala pong sapatos, walang Adidas, walang Nike, walang mga ganon. Sandals po, meron sila. At wala nakasementong kalsada, dusty road. And just imagine, yung mainit na kapaligiran, pinagpapawisan ng paa, at yung mga dust na dumidikit sa paa, just imagine, yung puro, sorry to say this, puro libag ang kanilang paa. pero hinugasan nyo ng Panginoon. Oh, that is a powerful and effective leadership. And he came to Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Huhugasan mo ba pa ako, Panginoon? And some iba translation, no, Lord, you are not going to wash my feet. But Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. No, said Peter, you shall never wash my feet. Alam kasi ni Peter, ang dumi na kanyang paa eh. But Jesus answered, listen to this, unless I wash you, you have no part with me. In other words, unless I wash you, unless I serve you, you will not have part, you will have no part with me. Oh, that is leadership. Leadership is about serving. It is not being a boss or somebody, the CEO. You are called to lead by example. And so then Simon Peter replied, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well. Jesus answered, a person who has had a bath needs only to wash his feet, but his whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you. He was already talking about Judas. For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. So, di naman niya iniwanan yung importante, mahalaga, binalikan din po niya. But God saw that serving people is more important than any festivals. Do you understand what I have done for you? Naintindihan ba ninyo? Sabi niya. He asked them, you call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. And now that I, now listen to this, now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. Now, me as your leader, as your master, wash your feet. Now, I want you to wash other people's feet. And verse 15, this should challenge us. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Now, if as a church leader, servant leader, in the mold of Jesus Christ, and following his example and serving Jesus Christ, you will be blessed if you do them. Now, Jesus Christ, the greatest leader of all time, our Master, our Lord, showed us how to live. Now, follow him. Because leadership is following also. You cannot be a leader unless you have followed the Master. We learn from the leaders. And so, there was a group that I was with, and we were talking about the things that we need to do. And this is what came to my mind. And this, I believe this is a song. Always remember to do things righteously. Why? So that the people that are following you might find you righteous, good leaders. God bless you, and I thank you for your diligent study of our BWLI leadership. And I know that this church has a wonderful future because God is training and developing, and you are responding to his leadership. God bless you, and see you in our next lesson. God bless you all.